Realization, brought to you by White House Custom Color. I'm Jed Toffer, and today I get to speak with the tremendously talented Julia Kelleher. You're laughing.
I don't know if you would call me talented.
Tremendously talented.
This is the tremendous part that got to me. But thank you.
So talented is fine, but tremendously
It was maybe a little too much.
put you over the. That was a little over the top. I need to dial it back a little bit. Oh,
Right? You got to stay humble in life, right?
I believe that about you. I've
Well,
watched
thank
you
you.
for a very long time. I think like a lot of people I've talked to for whatever reason, I think I first saw you at After Dark.
Yeah. It was a long time ago.
You know,
10 years.
I feel like After Dark was a big deal, not just because of its format, which I think was awesome,
Yeah.
and also a spring from Light Pro from back in the day.
Yeah.
Too, for anyone that remembers Light
That's
Pro.
where I learned, man.
Light Pro?
Yeah. Does that make me old?
Well,
Kind of.
I was thinking about this. Walking up here from breakfast,
Yeah.
I was thinking, you know what? I'm going to be talking to a real contemporary of mine. Because, like yesterday I talked to some people that they weren't as old school as I am.
Yeah.
And apparently as you are either. Really? Honestly? But it made me think we've transitioned a little bit.
How do you mean by that?
We're not, and it hasn't been this way for a while, but we're not the new kids on the block, certainly.
No, not at all.
But we're not even the next level after that.
No, I wouldn't call us that old.
I feel like we're the next level after that, but we're not like veterans. We're not the cagey and wily veterans that have like the 57 things on their necklaces.
Right.
That, a couple people had to take their necklaces off yesterday.
Because it was dingle-dangling too much?
And because it was so heavy.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, mine's not that heavy. How many levels are there, Chad?
I'm saying 4.
4.
And
okay.
We're at 3.
Can we be at 2?
Well, and that's the thing. Okay, so this is what I'm getting at. I think I want to be at 2, but I don't think I am. I think I'm transitioning into 3. So maybe like right there at the halfway
Right
point.
there at the halfway mark?
I think so.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, I mean, I'm in my mid-40s and I've got, 20, 30 years left. So, yeah, we're about halfway. That would make sense.
See, I think the reason I bring it up was because I was reluctant to accept it.
Kicking and screaming.
I kind of was. I was like, I think I am, but I don't want to be, so maybe I'm not. And then I thought, but that doesn't change the fact that you are.
Yeah, it's true.
And so what I want, because here, this is where I'm at. And this is
like,
total.
Where are you going with this?
I want to tell you where I'm going because this is a total tangent and completely unexpected and completely off the top of my head.
It's awesome. I love it.
Well, I want to embrace it. I don't want to be kicking and screaming any longer than I do upon the realization of it. I want to embrace it that yes, I'm transitioning into this next phase and I want to embrace it, and because then I'll be positive and then I will be able to pass that along and share that with others, as opposed to being the bitter, in denial,
sour.
Because we know.
No, you're right.
That exists.
And then you become a has-been quicker because you're sour and negative and evil.
Well, and I don't even think I get that far, as far as like a has-been or whatever. I'm talking about mostly probably selfishly for my own health.
Yeah.
Because it'll bring me down.
Oh yeah. It's all mindset. You got to have a positive attitude, right?
Yes.
In anything.
Right. So that's why I bring it up. And I bring it up with you specifically because I think that we are contemporaries in that way.
Yes. I would agree.
You've been doing this for a while. You're not, you know what's up.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
You have the experience, and it's rare that you'll hear something or even see something and it not resonate with you on some level.
Yeah.
That happened to me, or I've been there and done that too, and I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. It's very rare that something's really groundbreaking and new right now.
Yes.
Unless some new technology comes out or so. And, actually, I have to admit, in the last couple of years, I have been, I've been very awestruck by a few new things, but they're from outside the industry.
What's one of them?
Like content marketing.
Keep going.
Content marketing is digital marketing that encourages people to connect with you through information and knowledge. I mean, it's knowledge commerce.
I
The
want I
online
want more I want
education.
more specifics because I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, like when I figured out that I could get people to opt into my list by giving away free content,
Mhm,
free knowledge content.
mhm,
And at the same, there's an art to it. You have to be generous, you have to give good information. It's not just a sales strategy. It's a
right,
it's a way to connect a potential customer or student to a business in a way that speaks to that rule of reciprocity, we call it. You do something nice for me, I'm going to want to do something nice for you back.
mhm,
And it builds that trust in a consumer so that they're going to want to buy from you. And so the whole concept of digital marketing and then online education and knowledge commerce, like that has taken off so much in the last 5 years. I mean, we used to think that Creative Live was the be all end all. I mean, that was like
yeah,
online. I mean, that was the wave, the surge of
yeah,
online education, and it's still great, but it's just so saturated now. But
right,
that whole marketplace just exploded
yeah, it blew up.
so fast, and that blew me away. Like that was new and groundbreaking. And I don't know, was it technology that did it, and the ease of being able to? I mean, here we are in a hotel room doing a podcast. I mean,
Certainly technology that has allowed it,
yeah,
both from a software standpoint and also from a hardware standpoint, because it's
yeah.
amazing the type of gear that you can get
Like, as a
for the
consumer.
cost.
Yeah,
Yes,
as a, Jobo public consumer,
and then
which used to
amazing.
be pro level equipment.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it is. It's just inexpensive now.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing with digital photography,
Exactly. Exactly. So I
Anybody can
agree.
have a
That's what's doing it. It's technology that's pushing it forward and
Mhm,
dropping those barriers to entry.
mhm.
And then to run this through some software and throw a filter on my voice to make it sound
Sound even sexier than
even
you already
better
are.
than it does.
Sexy Jed.
Yeah. Yeah. And to like click a button and be like, ooh, I like that
Will you make
better.
me sound good too?
Of course.
Thank you.
And it will take virtually nothing. It's just a click of a button.
You gotta love software,
That's
right?
all it is.
It's like Liquify for your voice.
That is perfect because I also use that plenty.
Right? I wish I was in the mirror every day. Wouldn't that be
For
great?
myself, if I just and
Especially since we're going from stage 2 to stage 3, right?
yeah, well, for me, it probably shows a little bit more than others. That was another thing I couldn't escape. Whenever anyone takes a picture of me, I like, now liquefy it. You gotta liquefy
Yeah,
it.
you got to.
You speak
Yeah.
to your contemporaries that way because everybody knows what you're talking about.
Well, and now, like the facial recognition on Liquify, you can like make yourself smile, or your
Yeah.
eyes bigger,
Yeah,
or wide set, or
In a second.
it's awesome.
Yeah. I think it's awesome and terrifying at the same
It
time.
is terrifying. And then you realize, like, when you look in the mirror, like, that's not how I look. You're like, yeah, it is. It truly is how you look. You just have liquefied so much you can't
Well,
recognize yourself anymore.
and really pretty soon we're going to be able to have these interviews without the other person because of Adobe's voice software. Have you
Oh
seen
yeah.
that?
No, I've heard of it, but I haven't like
It's
actually seen it in action
It's
yet.
horrible.
Is it really?
It's horrible like a thunderstorm is horrible. Like big, huge, amazing, terrifying, incredible, and extremely dangerous.
Oh wow.
I think because I could say whatever I wanted and then turn it into you.
Oh, that's freaky.
And it's pretty legit. I watched it like happen in real time and it was
I'm gonna have to check that out.
it's scary.
Well, nowadays, like you go to a rock concert and you're like, they do not sound the same. Yeah. In a live concert,
Yeah.
like, it's
Yeah.
very rare that you hear a voice in a live rock concert or whatever concert, country, I don't care, it doesn't matter, the artist, and you hear them on a CD or radio or whatever, and
Right.
like, oh, they sound so good, I love this song, and then you hear them in
Yeah.
person, you're like, oh,
You're like, ooh.
wah,
And
wah.
then what's funny is we complain if there's any auto tune or background music used, and yet we want it.
Right?
We're like, throw some extra oomph into those backing
Right.
tracks
No
when you're
kidding.
live because I want you to sound good.
Right? Mm.
Okay, so we could digress into
Yeah.
oblivion if we wanted to, but I suppose we should get back on point because this is important. This is important, I think, for you specifically because you're one of the queens of this in my mind.
Oh, thank you.
Sales. We'll talk
Thank
a little
you.
bit about sales, and I think that when it comes to that in this industry, you're at the top level. Like you help
thank you.
set the bar for this.
Thank you so much.
You're
Jen, I
welcome.
appreciate
It's
it.
true. That's not just smoke. We can blow smoke all day long, but that's legit.
Thanks.
So when you said that that's what you wanted to talk about or you could talk about, I was happy with that. I'm like, yes, that's what we should talk about.
Sweet.
So start with the importance of sales And I'm assuming this is an assumption that you're referring to primarily product sales?
Yeah. I mean, sales can, the whole digital print revolution is just such a conflict. And I get why people start off as, quote, that derogatory term, shoot and burn.
Yeah.
I get it. You're starting out, you've got this camera. It's like the easiest thing to get started is to just sell the files.
Right.
Of course. Why wouldn't you?
Right.
But 90% of photographers get disillusioned by that within a few months, if not a year or two of being in business. And they realize that there's a better way, and or they think there's got to be a better way.
Okay.
And then they go exploring and start to get educated and realize, oh wow, it would be nice for my clients to actually have something
Have
tangible out of
something.
this process.
Right.
And sales is at that point, sales becomes very important, and you start to want to learn what to do.
Mhm.
And so many people are afraid of being schmarmy or salesy or worse yet, being introverted and feeling like a complete doofus and not knowing
Yeah.
what to say and fumbling on your words and not being able to answer a question a client has and
Mhm.
feeling insecure about it. I get
Mhm.
it. But if you create a good system from start to finish of your sales, like a repeatable step-by-step process where you can take a client through from the start through the end, through a step-by-step actionable sequence, you can pretty much systemize a sales process and be guaranteed an average sale that makes you profitable and functional as a
Yeah.
business and
Yep.
like actually make an income. And I think once photographers hit that realization, they really want to learn how to do it. And the stumbling blocks and the pain points to that are it's going to suck my time.
Yeah.
I don't know what to carry as a product.
Mhm.
I am scared to freaking death because I don't want to be salesy and I'm afraid my clients are going to hate me.
Right.
I'm afraid I'm going to lose all my shoot and burn clients I had before.
Right.
So they have this negative mindset of I can't, I'm not sure, I'm not sure, I'm not sure. And
Mhm.
then insecurity gets to them where they really need to flip the switch and open up their mindset and go, okay, how can this be done? Other people have succeeded before me. So there must be a way.
Right.
And once they realize that there's actually a flow to it and a system,
Yeah.
it gives you that security in it again. You're
Mhm.
like, okay, I can actually do this. It's just step by step. It's a conveyor belt. They start on one end, they end on the other.
Mhm.
If I follow the steps on the conveyor belt, I should be good. And
Right.
that's absolutely true.
Yeah, it's legit. Like, it's real.
Oh yeah. It's totally real. I follow it every day. And I'm a business, like I love business. Like I
Right.
just could talk about business all day long and then call me crazy. But um I don't have enormous sales averages. My studio is around 15 to 1800 per session. Um and there's a lot of studios out there in larger markets where, three, four thousand
Yeah.
dollars is
Double
not
that.
out of the
Sure.
question.
Yeah.
And so I look at them and I start to get, we all get our little insecurity bug going through our head. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh shoot, man, I need to get my average up
Yeah.
higher.
Yeah.
But it's so dependent on your market too.
Yeah. There's a lot of factors.
Oh, there's a lot of factors that
Mhm.
go into play. So I try not to beat myself too much about that. But I think in any market you can do in-person sales. You may have to tweak it here and there, but overall, there's no reason that any photographer can't start selling tangible products. And there's just a lot of pieces to put in place so people get overwhelmed. So if you break it down into specific steps, it gets a lot easier.
So, I have a couple things, but the first thing that struck me is that so you're excited about business,
Oh yeah,
okay? Not everybody is.
no,
So
no.
what do you say in this context, right? Because if you're talking to if somebody else is excited about business right now and they're
Mhm.
listening,
hmm
they're in
Oh yeah.
and they're like ready to hear everything else you
Mhm.
have to say.
hmm
Conversely,
hmm
if somebody's listening and they hate business,
hmm
they might be like, well, first of all, they might have stopped already.
Sorry.
So if you have, sorry, yeah, right. But if
Don't leave.
if you're
Come
still
back.
if you're still there,
If you're still with us.
we're going to address you specifically, because the other people are going to stay there.
Yeah.
But these people, they're on the fence right now.
Yeah.
What do you say to somebody that says, not only do a business schmizness, but like, ooh, business, I don't want to think about that
Mhm.
anymore. How do you address their mindset regarding this?
Business to me, what really like gets my heart ticking about it is it's all psychology,
Mhm.
really. It's about human behavior and mindset. And to me, that and being able to manipulate that in a customer,
Okay.
in a good way. I mean, manipulation sounds like a really bad word. I am a master manipulator.
Let's say influence.
Influence. Okay.
Positively influence.
To positively, and it's all terminology, right? See,
Right.
this is
All
business.
words.
This is exactly
Yeah.
business, Chad.
Yeah, we're
It's
in it.
all about using language and mindset and positive
Words
influence.
matter.
It does. They do. To take a person from someone who's thinking about doing something to actually getting them to do it
Mm.
willingly.
Mhm.
And for me, that's exciting. Like, I love the challenge of having a potential customer and knowing their pain points, knowing what makes them not want to do something and talk them into it, which is pretty much what we're doing now with the people who are listening and don't like business.
Which sounds on the surface, to go back to the
Yeah.
manipulative piece, it does sound on the surface to be a negative
Yeah. I know.
or a bad thing. However,
It doesn't have to be.
well, and I think even in reality, it's not assuming that all you're trying to do is pull money out of this person. Because
Exactly.
to go back to your original point, where the motive really should be, and hopefully is for the most part, is that you're trying to service them the best you possibly can and give them that product that they can have on their walls and see every day and get a tremendous amount of joy from.
You nailed
Right?
it. You nailed it. I mean, and
Bam.
here I am, talking about evil words like manipulation, but
Well,
truly what
but
it
it's
is,
not. It's the word's not evil. It's the
it's
intent.
all about customer service and thrilling and delighting your clients.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm using is
Yeah.
positive influence. I mean,
Right.
you're right. I really should switch the word and not use manipulation, but positive influence to delight and thrill
Yeah.
the people you're working with.
Yep.
And when you have a deep purpose in your business of why you do what you do, and more than just, oh, I'm making memories and letting my clients, go back to a moment in time. I mean, yeah, everybody, it's cheesy, whatever. It's got to be deeper than that.
Right.
It's like, why am I a newborn photographer? Because there's a lot of strong reasons that go pretty deep back into my own history,
Mhm.
but ultimately it's to cherish that feeling of becoming a parent for the first time and what
Mm.
that does for you. Because when you're in the midst of it, you don't understand the enormity of it.
Mhm.
It's not until later when your child starts to grow up a little bit that you
Right.
realize, wow, that was such a defining moment of my life.
Oh my. Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, you know you and Vicky know that feeling all
Yeah.
too well. And to be able to translate that to my clients through an incredible service
Right.
and then a tangible product on the inside of that that does nothing but grow more in emotional value over time. That's where it's just like, hook, line, and sinker. That's the clincher. And so if you keep that mentality in your head and your real reason for why you do something and you market and communicate that to your consumer along with selling to them in that mindset and light, all of a sudden it's not a negative thing. It becomes an incredibly positive thing. It becomes service. It becomes all about them and what you can do for them. And you feel like you're making a contribution to the world.
So for you, that's what business means.
Exactly.
I think that's extremely helpful, hopefully to both groups of people.
Yeah.
Really, because it seems to me like you're connecting the why and the intent with action.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're putting the 2.
Mm-hmm.
Here's where the 2 meet.
Well, and when your client has that same why
Mhm.
and that same feeling, then it's a marriage. It's kismet. And they're so happy and delighted and they want to work with you again. They want to refer you again. So ultimately, sales, marketing, whatever it may be, it comes down to that core premise.
Well, and not to get all Steve Jobs on it, but everybody does,
Oh, they do.
whether they know it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do run into that anomalous person that doesn't, they're not your client, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And that's okay.
It's completely okay.
Right.
Because I would rather spend the time on someone who
Right.
actually gets it.
Of course.
Or if I don't have that in my business at this particular time, it's a slow time, I would much rather be able to spend the time marketing to those people than waste that time on a client who doesn't get it.
So that brings me kind of to the next piece that I was thinking about. Um, you're mentioning these big concepts like
Yeah, I know.
sales and all the time that that you can spend on sales, and because of the business piece, and there's great motivation behind that, and then you segue into marketing, another big piece. In my mind, I'm just thinking
Mhm.
time, like
Mhm.
minutes and hours and days, right? How how does somebody realistically manage that and balance it with, photographing,
I know,
actually,
right?
and editing and anything else in post, and running a business. And if you're a mom having kids, and if you're a wife or a husband having a spouse,
Mhm.
um, and maybe you go to church, and maybe you go to family things,
Let's just
and
pile it
maybe you
all
like to
on.
see movies sometimes,
Right?
and maybe you like to go to the spa to manage
Once in a
the
while.
stress level for everything
That's
else.
only once a year, Jen.
So it should be more.
Right? What
let's
am I working
let's
for,
turn
dang
that
it?
into once a month. Vicky says that on a regular basis. Hey, you know what? I'm going to go to the spa once a month for me. And I say, that's awesome. Maybe you'll get there by October.
Oh my gosh,
you
I've so been there, done that.
you know what I
I've
mean?
got that T-shirt and it has holes in it, man.
Because I legitimately support it, and it's not cheap, but it's worth every
Oh, it's your
penny
sanity.
for everybody. It's
It's
worth every penny for me
oh
for
yeah,
her to go to the spa.
right?
Hmm.
Balance. I still struggle with balance, Ted. I really do. And I drop balls all the time,
Mm-hmm.
trying to juggle basically two businesses, both education and then portrait
Mm-hmm.
side. It is it's harrowing sometimes. And I have kind of learned that balance means sometimes my business suffers and sometimes my family or my kids suffers. And as long as I kind of keep the two in check and try my best not to let the balls fall out of the air, um, that I'll be okay. But let me tell you, it is hard to balance all the time. And when I first started in this business, I mean, it was 16, 17-hour days constantly
Mm-hmm.
between having to work a job that actually made me a living to transitioning over to full-time photographer. Um, I was single at the time and had no kids,
Right.
so I had it easy. There was a couple factors there that were removed,
Mm-hmm.
but
But now you're
balancing.
on the other side of
Oh my
that.
gosh, and now you're on the other side of it, and initially when you set up a photography business, it is crazy. I
Mhm.
mean, learning everything from you have to be website, IT, customer service, marketing, systems, workflow, editing. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's nuts. I'm not sure you ever get to the point where you feel like you have a handle on it all, at least not for me, but I kind of work on what's important at this particular time and still keep the big picture in mind all the time. Does that make sense? So like
Yes.
I'll work on a marketing project knowing it needs to get done. Then clients are constantly coming through the
Yeah.
door. So that as long as that system doesn't have a kink in it, as long as I've got systems for all those other things like client workflow, um, image editing, customer service workflow, the education side has kind of a passive component to it because we do a lot of online courses and things like that. So I don't have to babysit that all the time. That'll give me some extra time to work on a big display or a big marketing project that we have going on. So it's a balance of keeping your systems in check and making sure those are all flowing evenly and correctly. And then being able to take any extra time that you have and putting it towards a large project.
Mhm.
I really do shut the door on my business at night. I'm pretty religious about saying, okay, 5 o'clock, we're out. I'm going home. And I've drawn the line in the sand. I don't work evenings or weekends. And that's half the reason I became a newborn photographer and a family photographer
Mm.
because I'm like, my clients can get there during the week. They're, especially the newborn babies, they're on paternity, maternity leave. I don't have to work weekends. It's very rare. So I
Mhm.
think you have to kind of draw the line in the sand sometimes with balance and say to yourself, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be up at 2 in the morning editing.
To evolve to that point, what what did it look like for you when one or the other business or family was suffering?
Oh, wow. That's kind of a deep question, Jen.
Yes,
Um,
I went there.
it was a lot of fighting with my spouse.
Yeah.
It was a lot of pulling each other's hair out. It
Mhm.
was a child unhappy and
Mm.
crying,
Mm.
and like, mommy, why?
Yeah.
And that realization kind of hits you.
Yeah.
Then on the other side of it, it's like clients stopped calling.
Mhm.
Inquiries went down.
Mhm.
you know when you're dropping balls. I
Yeah.
mean, you kind of know. And I always tell my students that if you have self-discipline, perseverance, and the right mindset, you can be successful in business. Those are the key things I see that tank and destroy a company. If your mindset is one of negativity and
Mm,
insecurity
mhm,
and I can't do this won't work in my market,
mhm.
that kind of attitude, then you're right.
You got that self-fulfilling prophecy
Yeah,
that's going to occur.
that's exactly what will happen.
Right.
If you don't have the self-discipline to get into the nitty-gritty and do the daily work it requires to actually get a
Yeah.
project done, you're done. And if you don't have the persistence to be able to, in the face of no, and in the face of being rejected and turned down, to persevere and find another route. When one door closes and a window opens somewhere, you got to find that window.
Yeah.
And no matter what, you have to find a solution to your problem. You have to chart the ship through nasty waters, knowing you'll get through it. So combine that with the self-discipline, the perseverance, the self-discipline, and the mindset, you
Yeah.
can pretty much accomplish anything. But it comes down to psychology. Your mind gets the best of you.
Mhm.
And I think
One
maybe
way or the other.
one way or the other. Yeah, and I think that's why I love business so much because it
Yeah.
truly is all about psychology, and can you challenge yourself to make it happen? Because you're the only one who can do it.
What have you done when you're in a situation where those balls are falling from the sky
Mhm,
and you're in a tailspin
mhm.
and you're in that downward spiral? How do you come out?
Well, you need to step back and regroup. I mean, there's times when my motivation is just killed. I'm one of those people who'll go, 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 like
Yeah.
the Energizer Bunny, and then all of a sudden the batteries die, and you're like,
Uh,
"Okay, I can't move." You know? You
yeah.
sit there like a crumpled
I might know somebody like that.
right? A crumpled piece of paper on the floor in the fetal position. You're like, I am not moving.
Yeah, I have seen the fetal position.
And you seriously stay there and you want to get out of it.
Yeah.
You want to stand up and you're
Yeah.
like, I can't stand up. And and it's funny because I have learned over the years, because you start to be hard on yourself because you're not
Yeah.
getting up.
Then you beat yourself up,
Yeah, you
right?
beat the crap
Mhm.
out of yourself because you're
Yeah.
not getting out of the fetal position. I
Right.
have finally just learned to let it run its course.
Okay.
And sometimes it'll go a month.
Mm,
Like,
mm.
and I just need to just not do anything.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely, the inspiration will come. A new
Yeah.
project will take hold of my mind, or an image will be created, or I'll have a concept in my head of some composite I want to create or
Mm,
story I want to tell. And then slowly you kind of come out of your fetal position and the fire gets lit again.
mm.
But I can feel it coming. It's almost like PMS, you can feel it
Okay.
coming.
I
Sorry, Jed.
I believe you.
You can't relate. And you know it's coming, and you get depressed. You're like, oh no, the motivation kill is coming. I can
It's on
feel
its
the
way.
fetal position. I'm crumpling.
Oh,
And you just have to own it. You just have to go
yeah.
with it. And then eventually knowing you'll come out of it. I
Yeah.
think that's the thing, is I know personally that I'll come out of it eventually.
Isn't that the most crippling piece sometimes? Now I can relate to this. When you are in a downward spiral, and the worst piece for me, the most defeating piece for me is that thinking this is how it's always going to be now.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this is it.
Yeah.
I'm not coming out of this.
It's all mindset to get
Right.
yourself out of it.
Right.
It's all mindset. You have to understand. You just You have to know it'll be okay, that
Mm.
you're gonna come out of it.
Yeah.
You have to keep the positivity. I mean, there have been times my mother was like crazy negative person, and
Okay.
so I learned from her how to be negative. And in my 20s, I realized, man, I'm a really negative person. I'm my mother. Oh my word, please no, somebody strike me down, right? And so I had to like consciously change my mindset. And there were times when I felt myself being negative, and
Mm.
I had to physically change the thought and like put out words that I didn't necessarily
Right.
believe.
It was an act of will.
It was an act of will to
Yeah.
turn myself into a positive person.
Okay.
But it was one of the best things I ever did for myself in terms of business, because
Right.
now I look at not everything. I mean, everybody has their days, but I look at things and I go like, okay, how can we make this work?
And
Not,
you reap the rewards from that.
oh yeah, I
Yeah.
truly believe that how you think and feel is truly your own self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mhm.
It'll come to you.
It's
a
amazing to me
sports thing.
how connected that is to sales.
Oh, hugely connected to sales. And I always liken it to athletes.
Mhm.
I was a competitive figure skater for a long time.
Right. I forgot that. I remember that now.
It's crazy. It's one of those things people don't know. They're like,
Yes,
whoa, random
right.
fact about Julia.
Yes.
But it's all like competing was all about mindset.
Mhm.
If you did not believe you were going to win, you would bomb in the rink. Bomb.
That Salcow's not going to happen.
Any doubt, right? Any doubt you had
Yeah.
just was a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes. Interesting. That there's the correlation is very strong
And
there.
golfers have the same problem.
Big time.
I think that's why golfers are some of the least intelligent people out there because they just don't think about it.
Oh my god.
They just go. I am so being
The
politically
opinions
incorrect right now.
expressed in this
I
podcast.
I don't actually believe that, but I'm I'm just kidding
There
around.
is something to the mentality of you. I think that overthinking is your enemy.
Oh, yeah. And
Right?
being like and really super highly intelligent people constantly overanalyze.
Crush themselves.
Oh, yeah. It's
Happens to me
self-debilitating.
all the time, Julia.
You're the smartest man I know, Jed.
That's why I'm so unsuccessful.
Just overthink it, buddy.
I can't get
You're
through the day.
overthinking it.
Here's a question though that also connects to this. Regarding the time and the balance and considering everything that we have said, does it not behoove some people? Because I give this advice out, so I'm really looking for a verification from you.
You need
So
confirmation.
you might go the other way, and I'm really curious.
Well, don't you dare influence me with a leading question.
That's exactly what I'm doing. You're
Warning,
picking
warning.
up on my manipulation.
I'm listening.
Does it not? And feel free to disagree. Does it not behoove some people, maybe many people, to bring somebody else in to do the sales piece for them?
Oh, I think it's a great idea.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
If you like, yes, I'm good at sales, but I suck at bookkeeping. Okay. I hate doing my books.
That's real.
Oh, it's so real.
Okay.
And so I hired a bookkeeper.
Mhm.
I love sales. I love seeing my profit and loss statement
Right.
sheet, but make me enter all those numbers and reconcile it. And I want to pull my hair out and
Yeah.
put a steak knife through my eye.
I know.
I mean, I
somebody else
really
like
hate that
too.
feeling. So I have hired someone out to do it.
Yes. Right.
If you are not good at sales, hire someone to do it.
Mhm.
Now, I'm also a control freak.
Mhm.
So for some reason, I don't feel like I need to control the actual numbers that come into my bank account and leave, which seems odd. But when it comes to sales and income and revenue, I
Yeah.
feel like I'm the best at selling in my studio.
So you do it.
I do
Mhm.
do all my in-person sales. But if you're not comfortable or you feel it's a weakness, by all means, you should be hiring it out
Mhm.
and putting that person through training, sending them to classes or conventions or education of some kind, and teaching them how to do it.
Despite the costs incurred, because it's an investment
Totally.
where you should see a strong return.
And you can pay someone commission based.
I love it.
So you only pay them when you make money.
I'm so glad I didn't have to say that.
It's
That was my next piece. But,
brilliant. I
right.
mean, and then you can pay them as a contract worker type basis.
and they can do really well
And they can do really
for
well.
themselves.
And it motivates them to
Yeah.
do really well.
Yep.
The more they sell, the more they make.
Of course.
And so, granted, do you risk someone getting all salesy on you? Yeah, but I think if you have a good system in place and you train that appropriately, you can have some pretty amazing people doing your sales for you. And, sales is a personality thing. You
Of
either
course.
love it or you absolutely hate it.
Right.
So,
And that comes across to the client.
totally,
They know.
totally comes across.
Because we know, right? When we're in that situation.
Oh, yeah. You know when you hate a client, right?
Or when we're a client of somebody else, we know
Yeah.
what it's like to be a client of somebody
Totally.
else and to be in a situation where like, I want this salesperson to spontaneously combust.
Used car lot. Just go to the car lot.
Yeah.
They come sauntering
stereotype.
towards you and you just see,
Go away. Go away. I'm just browsing. Go away. I don't want to speak to you.
Or the hover, like when you're in a store and they just
Yeah.
hover right by you. I'm like,
Yeah.
I was in a furniture store the other day and this woman just kept following me around the store. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm
You know
getting
what?
the heebie-jeebies.
I get tempted in that situation because we were shopping for furniture too. Same exact thing happened with a man. He was right honest and he kept saying, I'll just be right over here. But right over here was like 13 feet
Oh
to my
my
left.
gosh. And it's like, I'd rather have you be right next to me as close as we are
Or
than to
gone.
hover at 15
Or
feet
gone,
away.
one of the two.
Yeah.
But yes, be with me or don't
Or
be.
not.
And it made me think, you know what I want to do? I want to pick up this lazy boy and try to run out of the store with it. I want him to know that I'm here to try to steal this chair. Because that's what it felt like. He was like hounding me
Right.
with the fear that I was going
That
to
you
take
were going to take something. Yeah, let's just try to get this out the double doors, right?
We're going to make it.
Run!
We can do it. The truck's out in the lot.
Jed, you klepto.
That's what was, of course, I didn't try it because I would have fallen on my face and probably strained my back and been bedridden for months. But Also, the legal
Stage 2, buddy, stage 2.
the legal piece, right? There's that. Maybe if I was 20 again. But my point is, we understand what it's like to be on that side. So
Mhm.
when you're the owner of a business, and it does behoove you to bring somebody in, um, get the right person, and you can get the right person. They're
Totally.
they're out there.
Well, I know the big question that a lot of listeners are gonna have is how? How do you
Yes,
find that
that's of
person?
course the next question.
Yeah. And it takes some time, I think.
Mhm.
However, what I discovered is that there's a huge segment of the general population out there who loves to work for small business because it's so different than working for corporate
Yeah.
America. I
Yes.
mean, we all know that as entrepreneurs,
Yes.
right? I wouldn't touch corporate America with a 10-foot pole nowadays.
Okay.
Um, so I love being a small business and entrepreneur, and there's a lot of people out there who want to work for a small business.
Mhm.
Add another layer to that of a creative small business, a photo
Mhm.
studio. For
Yes.
us, it's every day, but to the
Yes.
general consumer, they're like, "Oh, it's such a creative endeavor.
Right.
I want to work." It's like glamorous,
It is
and maybe the
glamorous.
reality hits them when they come
Right.
work for you. But
Right.
the point is they would love nothing more. When I put out a basic Craigslist ad for an assistant,
Yeah.
holy heck, I had 50
Yep.
applications.
Yes.
And they sent resumes. I narrowed it down. And finally, I hired my assistant, Belinda, who's now been with me for 6 years. And she started off as my nanny because
Right.
I had my son and I realized, oh my goodness, I have to go back to work. I need somebody to watch my kid for me. And so
Yeah.
she would sit there with him in a Moby wrap on her chest and he'd be sleeping and she'd be sitting there. I'm like, okay, I'm paying this woman to just sit here and have my kid asleep on her chest. I'm putting that girl to work.
Right.
So I handed
Yeah.
her a Wacom tablet and said,
Mhm.
learn Photoshop. And so
Mhm.
she did, and she loved it, the creative aspect of that. Now she can edit and do she runs my studio.
She's in the mix.
She's in the
Yeah.
mix. And if she wanted, obviously her personality isn't, she was my nanny and I hired her to be that. But had I wanted her to grow into a sales position, I could have taken her there. Her
Right.
personality is soft and sweet, and she would actually make a really great salesperson because of that. I'm not really sure sales is the direction she wants to go. But if she came up to me and said to me, Julia, I really would love to learn a commission based income with sales, it would be so easy to train her. So,
Yeah.
like I said, it takes some time, but you can basically put a Craigslist ad out there, get someone in your studio on a part time basis, try it out.
Mhm.
When I hire anyone, I always say, okay, we're going to do this on a 3-month trial basis.
Mhm.
You got to like it, and I got to like it.
Mhm.
And we're going to revisit this again in 3 months and see if we want to make it a more permanent process.
Yeah.
And no hard feelings if we don't,
Mhm.
either your end or mine.
No, I like that.
And when it really forces someone to have integrity with their job,
Right.
and it forces me to do the same with them. And it's a relationship you're going to have for a long time hopefully for a long
Right.
time with somebody.
Right.
And so I think it's not that challenging. I think people are just intimidating to go find someone
Of course.
and they don't know what to look for.
Right.
And I truly think you hire personality.
You look for to me, you look for somebody that you would want to work with in
Exactly.
that scenario.
Exactly. It's all about how you relate to them. Any skill set can be learned.
Right.
You can train somebody to really do anything as long as they have, two peas to rub together in their heads,
Right.
and they got some intelligence.
Right.
They can learn anything. It's about personality and how they relate to your customers and to you.
Agreed. I think that's super helpful. Well, let me end with this. You have, because you mentioned earlier on, like this system that
Mhm.
you implement every day, and I'm guessing that we could spend a semester
Totally.
and talk about that.
Yeah.
Where can people go to get those resources and to further their education in this realm?
Yeah. You can go to learnips.com,
Mm-hmm.
learn in-person sales.
Mm-hmm.
And what it really comes down to is creating a system that includes 6 things: the phone call,
Mhm.
the inquiry booking phone call, your pre-consultation with your consumer, with your
Mhm.
customer, the product line you offer in your studio, how
Mhm.
you price that product line,
Mhm.
the projection, the sales appointment itself, the projection appointment, and then having policies and procedures in place that kind of lay the groundwork for rules in your business. Like, this is how you operate, this is how you expect the customer to behave, and this is how what you're going to deliver in return.
Right.
So I call it kind of like the 6 P's of selling.
Yeah, lots of P's, I noticed.
Yeah, it's just a chintzy way of remembering it,
Yeah, right.
But if you master each one of those things and create a system of like pre-selling, like planting the seed of the sale in the
Right.
beginning before the clients even shot the session with you,
Mhm.
you're putting in their mindset that you're beginning the process of working with you with the end in mind.
Yeah.
And that there is going to be a tangible result out of this process rather than just something digital. And by implementing a clean conveyor belt type system like that, where you start to finish with them, it's almost guaranteed you're going to make your average sale every single client who comes to the door. Now, will you have some outliers? Yeah, it's a bell curve. You'll have the person who comes in and just does a minimum order, but
Right.
then you'll have the person who comes in and spends 10 grand,
Right.
and they cancel each other out.
Yep.
What concerns me is the middle, the hump
Yeah.
of that bell curve,
Right.
and whether or not I'm getting the majority of my clients where I need them to be.
Yes.
And from there, you can predict your revenue. You can predict your personal income. You can forecast growth. You can forecast marketing. You can forecast to hire that extra person that you need on board. And you can generally plan your business, and you're so much more in control.
Yeah.
You're
For all
so
those,
much more in control
for,
of everything.
for all those words, because here I am, I'm getting nervous hearing you say, forecast this, forecast that. Yes. You're just saying you can plan.
That's it. Yeah.
Right.
You can plan and have confidence.
Yes.
All you need to do at that point is get the client numbers in the door.
Yeah.
So you can devote all the rest of your energy to marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you run a good marketing plan, oh my gosh, here I go off on another tangent.
Right.
If you have a good marketing plan in your business, then, when you first start out, you feel like this marketing is like this huge boulder sitting in your face that you have to push down a hill. And it's overwhelming. And you sit here and as you start to market your business, you've been in business for like a year or two, you're still freaking pushing that dang boulder down the hill. And you're like, will this ever end? Like, do I have to market for the rest of my life? No. If you do it right and you have good systems in place, eventually the boulder will begin rolling down the hill by itself, and your engine will become referral based and repeat client based, and you're not going to have to work so hard.
You build that base.
Yeah. And a lot of these rockstar photographers would say, oh, my business is, all referral based now. I don't do any marketing. And you're sitting here going as a newbie, really?
I hate
You
your
suck.
guts.
Yeah. But it's true. And I know it sounds really egocentric when you hear these established photographers say this, but that's because they've got the systems in place. The marketing has started to take over on its own.
Yeah.
And people in their community know about them. So for somebody who's out there just starting, just realize that you don't have to market forever, but make sure you have the right system in place so that your time is not sucked selling.
Right.
And you can actually do other things in your business. And this all goes back to that balance question.
Yeah,
Like, how do you balance the
is.
time?
Right.
Full circle, right? So I think as long as you have processes in place, not only will your confidence grow, but then you can plan, the income becomes consistent, the client numbers become consistent, and you have a business that's kind of self-fulfilling, and the engine is fueled, and you don't have to do much anymore. And that's a beautiful place to be, and it's possible.
Yeah, it can happen. And so to continue the piece for people, learnips.com.
Learnips.com. You'll get a bunch of information there, as long as a few resources on how to switch to IPS if you're currently a shoot and burn, as well as kind of see what we offer on our education site in terms of marketing and sales and business systems.
Wow, thank you. This was awesome.
Thank you for having me. It was fun, Jed. You're a funny guy.
I did. Funny how?
Funny who? Oh, now we're going to start quoting movies. I can feel that coming.
Yeah. I love that scene. That's why I do that. I appreciate it. Your time is very valuable, and it means a lot to me that you would do this, especially during this busy convention that we're at.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it, Jed. I'm always happy to chat, and education's a beautiful thing. And there's nothing more you're an educator. There's nothing more just satisfying and like you're making a difference in the world when you can help an entrepreneur get somewhere. It's a cool feeling. So thanks for listening.
Have a great rest of the day.
Will do.